Welcome to this brown bag lunch. Trevor is going to be presenting today about how to do more with Google. He's already shown some of the Learning Center staff. It's already going. Some of the tricks and tips that he has, and they're phenomenal. So we're recording what's happening today. So if you want to revisit it later, you can do so, or you can share it with colleagues afterwards. Maybe colleagues who weren't able to make it. So thanks so much for agreeing to present, Trevor. And take it away.
Okay, thank you, Duncan. This is a pretty what's the word you use, Duncan? Kind of a relaxed, informal setting. I thrive on interruptions, so as long as your name isn't Shelley, please go ahead and ask any questions as they come up, because I promise you, you won't throw me off track. Basically, what I'm talking about is search engine optimization, which is shortened to SEO, which is how you'll normally see this referred to on the internet. Basically, all it means is being seen on the internet. What search engine optimization does is allows you to rank high in a Google search term for whatever it is that you're interested in your website being ranked for. So, say it's agricultural schools in British Columbia. We're currently the #1 position for that, so that's great. If there were an agricultural school that wanted to be #1, they could do some of the search engine optimization techniques and maybe beat us out. But essentially, changing those terms to benefit you is search engine optimization. There we go. So today, this is kind of a rough table of contents. This is what I'm going to go over today. First, how the internet works. Why should I care about search engine optimization? Why should I bother doing it? What's in a keyword? Keywords are the bread and butter of search engine optimization, so the different terms that people are using. How to do it, which is great to know because then you can actually benefit from this knowledge. How we measure success and failure in the search engine optimization, and what the Faculty of Land and Food Systems is already doing within my last 8 months here to do search optimization. So first, I want to go over how the internet works. And when I say internet, I really mean Google. The market share for Google is enormous. This is in the US. People using other search engines are very, very minuscule, which is why most people focus most of their effort on the Google search engine. Here it is for the UK. Much, much higher even than the US. And I don't have the chart for Canada, but I am assuming that it's somewhere between these two. It's somewhere between 66% and 90%. So people searching are using Google, which is why that's really the one that search engine optimizers focus 90% of their efforts on, because it's really the only one that matters. Why is Google the #1 search engine? Why does everybody use Google? This may have been a question you've asked yourself before, because it wasn't the first search engine. There were other, like I remember Yahooligans was one that my teachers showed us that we should use because it was safer for kids. In the early days, search engine optimization was extremely easy. It was very easy to game the search engines. And then Google came along with a brand new concept of how search engine rankings should be decided. And that was using the citation method. Now this is derived from research papers, actually. A research paper that had the most references to it was considered the most authoritative on any given subject. So if you had something on animal biology, and everybody was talking about this one book on animal biology, say it's Darwin's Origin of the Species, everybody's talking about this book, everybody's linking to the book, then this must be the best book on the subject. I mentioned links. This is the citation of the internet age. So the more links you have to any given subject, the more authoritative that source is on the subject. And this was Google's great idea, was to use links as a judgment platform. This simple idea is the main reason why Google is the #1 search engine, because they used a different method for deciding which terms should show up first. So I want to show the typical anatomy of a typical Google search. You've all seen this probably dozens of times a day. You look at this. What you have here is called your organic results. So this is what search engine optimization actually has an effect on. Most clicks go to these organic results. All these other things here are just advertisements, and this is where Google makes 99% of its revenue, is actually people paying to show up on search results. If you look at how often people click on the organic versus the ads, 80%, actually it's more like 78%, almost 80% go directly to the organic results. I'm sure most of the people in this room typically do not click on the Google ads, they're more likely to click on the organic results. But still, 20% is enough for Google to be a multi-billion-dollar company and make tons of money. I've used the term airline tickets. It's one of the most competitive terms in the world. Airline tickets are actually something that most people buy online. If you think about it, you don't go to a travel agency anymore. You don't go to the airport to buy your airline tickets. That's why this is such a valuable term. One of these ads, like the one right on top, if you click on that, you're costing that company $5 for your click. It's an extraordinarily expensive click. So that's why Google is making so much money, because thousands and thousands of people are searching airline tickets. If 20% of them click an ad, Google is making a huge amount of money, $5 a click. So very, very, can be very expensive to advertise. And that all depends on how competitive your terms are. So why should you care about search and optimization? Well, you should only care if you are the type of person who wants to be seen on the internet. Which, in my opinion, is most people who have a web page. I've outlined kind of the different benefits for different groups of people. So, as a professional, you want to be seen on the internet because your work can be exposed. Employers will often Google your name. You want them to see the best parts of you. You don't want them to see your drunken Miami photos on Facebook, right? If you're doing search engine optimization, you can show them what you want them to see. As a business, it's extremely important. Many, many businesses are using search optimization now. Online businesses, they're all doing it, I guarantee you. As a university, now this is an opportunity for a lot of growth, since universities aren't really doing this, unless they're an online university. Those are just some benefits of doing some of this. And as a government, the Canadian government uses this. Exposure of your policies generate immigrants, propaganda. So this is who's actually doing it. I actually touched on this a little bit. It's businesses, it's individuals, it's nonprofits, universities, the government, not UBC. UBC's not doing it. The reason I believe this is because UBC isn't anywhere here. Now this is the Canadian universities keyword, which pulls in 4,400 searches, that's per month, worldwide. You'll notice two players on here. Royal Road's #1, Canada University. So these guys are doing it. U of T is #3. And actually, I looked at this again recently. Now University of Toronto is up top. So they've upped their budget for doing search engine. Actually, that's search engine marketing when you pay for a click. So optimization is the organic results. Marketing is the ones you pay for. So these are the only two Canadian universities I could find that are putting any effort into this. Yes?
Does your pay marketing help you with your organic search, or not necessarily?
It can, yes. Usually you'll do both, because the organic has a better return on investment, and it's more permanent, which actually is my next slide. Not necessarily, no. Because Google is not just going to give you a freebie if they know you'll pay for it. But typically you want to have your site structured very well if you're going to start paying for clicks. So usually you do these in conjunction, but they're for the most part separate. What this shows is that the U of T and Royal Roads are actually doing both. They're paying and they're doing the optimization. Does that answer your question? Okay. So I mentioned search engine marketing, which is the brother of SEO. So why do I prefer doing search engine optimization versus marketing? Well, because those organic terms are the 80% of visitors. So you get a lot more visitors if you can achieve optimization versus marketing. And it's way cheaper. And it's longer lasting, because once you stop paying for those marketing links, they go away, and you're not getting that traffic anymore. That's why search engine optimization is a much better thing to do, in my opinion. So the next thing I want to talk about is the keywords themselves. There's a lot to take into consideration of this. My first example is pink eye versus Conjunctivitis. Now, does anybody know what conjunctivitis is? It's pink eye. They're the same thing, right? But they're completely different words, and they have a completely different amount of searches. Lots more people search for pink eye versus conjunctivitis. So which one would you rather rank for? Well, that depends on the type of people that you want to be reading your content. Let's say you're a researcher at a university. Conjunctivitis might be more important for you because it's the smarter people, the people maybe with money to donate to pink eye research, who are going to be searching conjunctivitis versus pink eye. If you're a pink eye doctor and you're thinking, I want people who are just regular people but they want a cure for pink eye, then you might want to focus on pink eye. So the word you choose depends on the audience you want to attract. So it's not just necessarily a game of numbers. The bigger number looks better, but it's not always necessarily going to be better. I want to also talk a little bit about search evolution. The word dishwashers has a very large amount of people searching for it. Did you have a question, Cyprian? No. Say it's 1 million a month. I don't know what it really is. But a dishwasher manufacturer is not going to necessarily target that word, because somebody just searching for dishwashers is probably not ready to buy a dishwasher. But what you'll find people doing is, as people are learning more about dishwashers, they may start using a little bit longer of a key term. So somebody searching Energy Star dishwashers is more likely to be ready to pony up the dough for a dishwasher. Even though it's going to be a significantly lower amount of actual search volume, these people are more likely to be looking to buy a dishwasher. Even more so with a brand name. A brand name is actually a buying signal. So Whirlpool dishwashers is going to be much more contested keyword than just dishwashers, because somebody searching dishwashers probably wants information. Somebody searching Whirlpool, more likely to be looking to buy. One that's even more obscure, Whirlpool Dishwashers Vancouver. If you're a mom and pop store selling dishwashers in Vancouver, you'd love to be ranked #1 for this one on the end, because these people, well, they're definitely ready to buy, and they are actually going to want to buy in a retail store because they choose a locale. So this is another example of how something where it's lower traffic could actually be much more valuable to focus on. Oh, yes, buying signal, strong buying signal, as I already mentioned. One other keyword consideration is specific versus generic keywords. Normally you won't be trying to rank for generic, or sorry, normally you will not be trying to rank for specific keywords. So land and food systems, I spend no time trying to rank for, because guess what, we're already there. Agriculture School, British Columbia, we're the only one, we're already #1. So the things to focus on are the more generic terms, where you're not already making your traffic from. So Food Science School, British Columbia, we're not there yet. This is a good thing to focus on, because there are people searching this. There are people who want to go to Food Science School, but we're not showing up. Same with Masters in Applied Economics Canada. That's a very long term, but it's not something we're ranking for. But there are people searching for this, and it's only about 20 a month. But 20 a month of students is a lot of students, right? So if we can rank for these long tail terms, which is what that's called, then we see a lot more benefit than if we just are spending our time with land and food systems. So how do you actually do it? It's not actually that technical. Unlike website development or website design, search engine optimization is something that almost anybody can do right from their browser. But that doesn't make it easy. It actually takes a lot of time invested to rank for these terms that a lot of people are trying to go for. And there's two main types of search engine optimization. One is on page, so your actual website, and the other one is off of your page. The on-page stuff that you can do, this is your most important one right up here at the top. That's your page title. So I'm using University of Phoenix as an example. They're the #1 online education source. So they are doing this, and they're doing it to a huge extent. You can see that the title of their page is actually not University of Phoenix. It's online college degree programs, because that's what they want people to find them from. That's a very, very highly competitive term. You'll also find it in the headings. You can see online degree down there, so they've got it in 2 places. It's also in the body text where you will want to put your keywords. And the URL is an important one. Now this one is just phoenix.edu, but if they registered onlinecollegedegree.com, they would get a further benefit from that just by having the same URL. So these are the on-page things you can do, and they're fairly easy. And this will only take you a few hours to accomplish. But for anything competitive, you're going to have to do things on other sites. I mentioned before the citation method of Google, that the more links you have, the more authoritative you're considered on a subject. This is actually Yahoo Site Explorer, and what it does is it finds all the links to a given page. So I've run Yahoo Site Explorer for the University of Phoenix to find their links, and you can see the little number there. They have 45,818 links to this page. And this is why they dominate the search results for online degrees. And it's actually ranked 1 to 10. These are their 10 most important links. You can see their most important link is actually from themselves. And then we've got an American universities site, US universities from Texas. What this shows is that they've got a lot of links. They've got 45,000, and that's why they rank so well. This is where most search engine optimizers are going to be spending the lion's share of their time, is finding creative ways to get these links. So a great place to put your links is on similar sites. They have to be topical to your topic. Sites like Yelp, which is like a review site. This is what many businesses around town do, is they will try to increase their exposure on review sites. Blogs are a good place to get links. Facebook and Twitter are an increasingly good place to get links. Directories and forums are more things people used to do in the old days of search engine optimization, like 3 years ago. It doesn't work as well anymore. The trick to this, getting links, is to be creative. Think laterally when you're thinking what links you can dredge up. One of my favorite places is Wikipedia to make links, because that's considered the #1 resource on practically everything. So if you can get a link from Wikipedia as a reference link, then that's going to be probably your most valuable link. Do you have a question? Oh, okay. Spam. We can talk about spam, because spam is closely related to everything I've been talking about. But you don't want to be a spammer. Nobody likes spam. You don't want to spam because spam does not work. Now, to preface that, I should say spam will work for a little while. Spammers will always find a way, because their job is easy if they can just do a bunch of spam, and then they don't have to be creative. They don't have to go talk to a blogger. Can I do a guest post on your blog? They don't have to go and try to put a link on Wikipedia that somebody's not going to try and remove. So spammers will often find a way, but then the search engines will adapt. Just like Google was the first major blow to spammers. It's been an arms race ever since 1999 between spammers and search engines, and ultimately the search engines always win. I've made this into a triangle because basically spam doesn't work until it does, and then it doesn't work again. So it's a vicious cycle. If you try to be a spam artist, as I say, then it might work for a little while, but ultimately it's not a good investment. The way to get out of this vicious cycle is, oh no, okay, well that says content is king. The T kind of fell off. This is a phrase that anybody in SEO, search engine optimization, uses constantly. As long as you have good content, people will link to you out of their own volition. So you don't even have to go and go try to get people to link to you, because you're a good resource. So you're going to rise to the top of the search engines regardless. So really, this is your best return on investment, in my opinion, is to develop a site that people want to read. That's ultimately the best thing you can do for your search engine optimization. Everything else is just optimization, basically. You're just making yourself easier to find. So, SEO is science, measuring success. What I mean by this is there's actually a ton of tools you can use to see how you're doing. The main one is Google Analytics. You install this on your actual site. And this will show you your site traffic and a lot of other things. This is us. This is landfood.ubc.ca, the site that I currently maintain. And this is our traffic since July, when I started and actually installed the code. So you can see in the last 8 months we've had 84,000 visits. Right here is an interesting peak. This was Joel Salatin. How many people actually went and saw Joel Salatin? Okay, a couple of us. He's a celebrity, well, if there were ever a celebrity farmer, he would be the celebrity farmer from Virginia. And what we managed to do, and this is a typical SEO success story, is get featured on a large Facebook account for a movie with 14,000 viewers. So those 14,000 viewers saw a link to our page that we made on Landfood, our site. They were directed to see Joel Salatin's, to see, basically it was just a page describing the event. That was our biggest traffic, all-time traffic breaking record, was from Joel Salatin appearing on a Facebook page. And that's the perfect example of a very good link to have. That link, that one little Joel Salatin link, will have benefits for us years in the future. This is another page. This is just where your traffic is coming from worldwide. So this is for our main land and food systems site. You can see most of our traffic comes from Canada. A lot of it comes from the US. You can see the numbers in the column down there. We also have the sites where people are directed to the sites from which people are directed to us. So most of our traffic, referral traffic, comes from UBC, then grad, UBC, human resources. So these are the people that are linking to us that are driving a lot of viewers. This doesn't have to do with search engines, but this one does.
Trevor, is there a question?
Yes.
Sorry, did you pay for the campaign on Facebook to have
No,
the link?
not at all. This was just a relationship that we had built. It was the movie Fresh. And I gave her a call because we were going to maybe put one in our library. We were going to originally have a screening of Fresh. We didn't actually end up doing that, but once she heard about our event, she actually also ran the Facebook page. So she was willing to promote our event on her Facebook page. So it was really just knowing the right person, developing a rapport with them, making friends with them, and then they helped us out, even though we didn't actually end up paying them the $400 that they wanted for us to screen the movie. So that's kind of touching on that creativity is important part. Always thinking, what can I do to kind of promote the site? Another example was Chris McGill. I noticed that a lot of traffic was coming to our site, people searching for Chris McGill. So what I did was built a page for him. It was like the faculty member's bio, but I just made one for him, a staff member's bio. Because I said, people are searching for Chris McGill. We're already getting a lot of traffic of people interested in Chris McGill. So let's become the internet's best resource on Chris McGill and just put a page of everything he's done. The animal welfare program, got a link on there. So now we're using information that we got from Google Analytics to basically improve the resources that people are actually already using us for. So this allows me to see where do I need to spend my time developing good content on the site for. UBC Food Science is our number 5 term. And I haven't looked at that site. I don't imagine it's a very informative page. It's probably got a lot of text on it, as I noticed for a lot of these pages. So what I might do, since so many people are interested in food science, is I might develop that further, put more information on there, more helpful information, maybe put some pictures in there because there's probably not any. So since people are already interested in that, let's give them a better resource.
Trevor?
Yes?
Sorry. My question is the top banner there, the page visits, the average time on site.
Yes.
That's very interesting to me because the site average, it appears that people are spending less time on the site.
Less time compared to?
Well, the site average is 2 minutes 27 seconds, and then 2:13 in Like, so it's less, it's 10% less time that people are spending on the site, am I reading that right?
Not quite. The average time on the site means people entering the site are, on average, going to spend 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
That's a bit of
reading.
time, right? That's a bit of time, I think.
It is, and that's actually probably lower than it really should be, because a lot of these visits are just search engine spiders, which means that they're just indexing your content to find out where you should rank on the engine. So those are not all human beings, and a search engine will visit your site for about 1 second. So that skews our data ultimately. So our bounce rate will actually be lower than it shows there. Bounce rate is people entering your site and leaving within 30 seconds. Our bounce rate should actually probably be lower. Our new visits should probably be lower. Our average time on site should probably be higher. The pages per visit should, well, will probably be about the same. The 251 is not time. The 251 is how many pages they're on average visiting. So it's about 2.5. So somebody might visit 2 pages, somebody might visit 3. All of these metrics, there are ways to improve them. And the visits, 30,000, that's how many people have come to our site by way of Google search engines over the last year. So you'll actually find these 2 menus, you'll find people who are linked to our site on average spend more time. They spend about a minute more. And it maybe, is this what you were talking about?
Yeah, I'm curious as to how you get somebody to stay on your site longer. Like,
Oh, there's lots of theories of
so I'm
proper
just
ways
kind of
to do
curious
that.
as to what's going on.
Well, first of all, what this tells me is people who are linked to us from other UBC sites are probably more likely to be finding the information they want than people who are just coming to us from search engines. And you'll probably find this with any site, is that if they're specifically looking for us, they're going to spend more time on the site. They're going to visit more pages. If they've just found us in a search engine, we may not be exactly what they're looking for. But the numbers are still good. And these are just people we're pulling in off the street, right? So these are visitors we may not normally have. At least ones like UBC agriculture, for example. More generic terms are ones we're just pulling in off the street. 24,000 visits in the last year from links, 30,000 visits in the last year from search engines. So a little bit more from search engines, which is great. What I always say is the more people are visiting from search engines as a proportion, the better, because that's indicative that we are doing better optimization. Do you have any other questions? So this is another tool. It's the rank checker. What this lets you do is we have our domain, first of all, that's always the same on this one, and then our keywords on the second column. So this lets you see where in Google you're ranking for all these different keywords. You could just go to Google and type in the keyword and hunt, but this just makes that job a lot easier. It shows you Google, it shows you Yahoo, and it also shows you Microsoft. So this was one of the first search engine projects I took on, which was for applied biology. So I can see I'm actually ranking on the first page. Anything below 10 is on the first page for all of these terms. 5 out of 7 terms. So that's really good, because before we weren't on the first page for any of these terms. So this is a tool, Rank Checker, that lets you see that very easily. Another one is Yahoo Site Explorer. I already brought this up when I was discussing University of Phoenix. This lets you see all the links you have. This is for our site. Our most important link is UBC Botanical Garden, which is why we're very sad to be losing them, because we will be losing our #1 most important link. And #2 most important link. Natobi will probably still have. #5 most important link. #6 most important link. So it's too bad that we're losing some of our top 10 links, but
we can bribe Daniel to keep the link up.
we probably could, yeah. He would probably be willing, or he might accidentally keep it on some of these pages. So that's Yahoo Site Explorer. That lets you see who's linking to you. Google AdWords lets you do keyword research. I mentioned that Canada University has 4,400 searches a month. This is how I know that. Google AdWords tells me 4,400. The competition is medium. That means you'll be paying a little bit more to buy a link, to buy an ad, and it will also be harder to rank organically. And we have 20 minutes of time still, so that's good. It will also give you suggestions for related terms. So a very high traffic one is Canada Universities with an S, but that may not be as appropriate for a single university. Canada Online University, very low traffic number, enormous competition. Again, these are the $5 clicks, which is about the maximum click. So even though there's only 260 people or 250 people worldwide, people are paying a lot more for those clicks because it's so profitable online education. You can have one instructor and you can have 10,000 students or more. So that's why that one is so costly. Canada University Online, again at the bottom, with only 110 people searching a month. Oh, well, that's all the tools. Okay, so I wanted to discuss a little bit more about what we've done at Landed Food Systems. We're probably not doing enough. The number I like to throw out is that in my time here, I've probably done 5%, maybe less, of what we are capable of. Landed Food Systems is a huge producer of content. As I mentioned before, content is king. We're doing all the work already. We're just not providing it to the world. We're not presenting it properly. We could do a whole lot more, but we've made a lot of progress. We're off, as I say, to a great start. And results can take a long time to show up. I actually have data now from the applied biology work I did 7 months ago. So it took me 7 months to have enough data to say this is a success. We actually had a 20% increase in student applications this year over last year. So it takes a long time to see progress, but I can confidently say now that it's definitely been worth it. SEO is an ongoing process. It's not something you do once, like building a website. You have to constantly do it. You have to constantly be keeping up with the competition. You have to constantly be adding new content. So that's what we've done. This is specifics of what we've done. You are probably familiar with these two new sites that I've built. One for Reach Out, which is our alumni publication. One for actually LFS Today. These are both content sources that we were already doing, we've already been doing for years, but they're just not out there. I wanted to find a way that we could put these two sources of content online. So I built these two sites, Reach Out and the intranet. You can see down below the amount of visits we've gotten to each corresponding one in the past few months. 800 visits that otherwise we would not have. 5,000 on LFS Today that we would not have. These are just people searching for Valentine's Day potluck, for example. Anything. We have a huge number of keywords, and I actually have the number. Reach Out, 195 keywords that we are on the first result for Google for. And I've put them all in the background. You may not be able to read it because I had to make the font really small. This is Reach Out. Our #1 result is Think and Eat Green UBC. We're the #1 source for that program. Yvonne Lamers is #2. Ronaldo Com is a big one. UBC Farm Sustainability. So we're ranking for all these terms on the first page, which is amazing for something that we just built. LFS Today, even much larger, 677 terms that we're ranking for on the first page. LFS Today being the most important one, but after that you have all generic terms. So these two sources are a very, very small portion of what we can do, because we can put lectures up and start ranking for those. We can put brown bags up and start ranking on a huge amount of terms for those. We can put the annual report. Reach Out is up at the annual report. We can get our student blogs on here and just start pulling in huge amounts of content from people interested in a wide variety of things, which is what this represents, is a wide variety of interests that we are being the #1 search result for. I touched on a few of the programs that benefited from my work so far. This is an exhaustive list. You can see the main site on there. You can see Master of Food Resource Economics, Applied Biology, which I actually mentioned, the UBC Farm. So I'm doing this with as many sites as I can, but this is a very limited list compared with all of our programs, all of our research groups, all of our classes even. I'm working with Cyprian right now to get one for every room in Macmillan, get a website built for every room so that anybody searching for that room number will find us. So there's a huge potential here. And as I mentioned before, we're maybe tapping 5%, maybe 1%. I think we have a ton of potential just because we crank out so much research, we crank out so much lecture content, we have all these communication contents. So this is a very important practice to know about search engine optimization. And I want to close by saying it can make or break your site with 2 examples. This is Shared Harvest. I really like what this site has done. Does anybody know about Shared Harvest? No, you probably don't, because they don't do any search engine optimization. What this is it's like Craigslist for local food people. It's really cool site. So anybody with a small organic farm can post what they have for sale here, and anybody interested in purchasing from small farmers can go on here and see all these ads, and it's a very grassroots initiative, and it's built beautifully. It's got this flash map that you can just zoom in on what part you're interested in. It's built wonderfully. It's a great idea, but nobody knows about it. Why? Because they don't optimize anything. This one is an example from, this is Maya Kurzik's site for one of the classes she runs. This page, ugly as it is the world's #1 resource on soil components. This one crappy page grabs almost as many visits as our main land and food site. Let me get back to there. What just happened?
Didn't like being called a crappy.
Oh, I have a laser pointer on here. I could have been using that the whole time. Okay. Well, I'll use it on the last slide, because this is my last slide. #1 resource on soil components completely accidentally. And that's only because it's up here. And it's also in the URL, just components. 3,200 visits in the last 30 days. This one page is getting an enormous amount of traffic, and there's not really anything here. There's a little pie chart about, well, the components of soil. Google thinks this page is good enough to be the #1 resource in the world. I disagree. I'm sure there's much better resources. But
So content is good, but components is king? Okay.
well, this one's just old.
Soil components.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Duncan. So, despite the differences in these sites, one is very well optimized, completely accidentally. This is a very large site, and this is the only page that gets any traffic. For soil components and components of soil, which are both about 3,000 searches a month. #1 in the world, so it gets traffic from every country in the world through Google, and there's nothing really cool here. But this is a very important page to us. I wouldn't change a thing about it. Yes, ma'am?
So, do other people link to this page? Is that why? Or is it just because of the keywords?
There's a lot of reasons. There are links to it. It's very, very old, and actually the older the pages, the better of an authority it's considered to be. By very, very old, I mean 9 years old. So, and it has enough information that it answers the question, soil components. You can actually, it has a very clear to understand chart here, and you have 4 sub-pages here that you can click on. It has some links to it. It has a UBC domain name, which is considered an authority on quite a bit. So just the fact that we have an educational domain name gives us a lot of oomph in search.
So does it have a link to the faculty on
I
that?
think this is a link to the faculty right here. Some of these pages don't actually work. This is an ancient site, but 99, as I say here, 99% of the visits to this page are from Google. And 1% is from classes Maya teaches. So this is an example of what you can do with search engine optimization. This site versus this site. I think this site could grow to be the largest kind of grassroots farming thing, which is why I think this site is so cool. And I almost want to buy it from them and make it good, because they have a good designer, they have a good idea, and they were even featured in the Vancouver Sun. The article is right outside the Learning Center, which is the only way I found out about them, is because their article is posted on the wall. Otherwise, nobody knows what this is. But they could be huge, but they're not.
I'm just tweeting it now.
Oh. That's good, because that will help them, but really they need to be doing on-page So that does conclude my presentation. Oh, yeah, important tools. I guess I'm not done yet. These are mostly the tools that I already talked about. I threw a couple extras on here. These are more readings. These are all things that I read. SEO for Dummies.
Could you go back to the tools just for a second?
Yes. I do plan to have this presentation available online in some form or another, so you'll be able to come back to this page.
There's another site, I can't remember exactly the name, like, could it be Alexis? Or
Alexis,
yeah.
yes.
What do you think about that one?
Doesn't work well. There's actually Alexis and Compete.com are both traffic estimating services. What they do give you a good indication of is how much traffic your site gets versus another site.
That is comparable.
Sorry?
Like another site that is comparable to yours.
Exactly. It would have to be a comparable site, yes. They are not good because they only use data from people who have downloaded their toolbar, which is right away not scientific, because what types of people are downloading their toolbar? Exactly. And usually it's search engine optimization people who are downloading their toolbar, so their blogs look like they get way more traffic than something like our site, even though they don't. It's just comparatively they get a larger audience of people who download the toolbar. So it is somewhat effective in judging how much traffic does my site get versus a comparable site, but you can't believe the numbers. And Alexis and Compete.com will give you completely different numbers, and they can be off by a factor of 10. So I wouldn't trust them. Google Analytics is the most trustworthy tool, but again, that's only on your site, so you can know what your site is. Yes, Cyprian?
So what should we do when we get somebody in the Vancouver Sun, one of our faculty members? Is there some way to turn that into constant, better traffic, or can we capitalize on that?
Yes, there are ways to capitalize on that. Hopefully, if the Vancouver Sun is writing about you, they're posting the article online. They're most likely posting the article online. I will always link to that article from my site, which helps them. If they have a link to us, Land and Food Systems, in their page, that will help us immensely.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, are they going to put that link in there? Can we ask them to put that link in there? They might be willing to work with us. They get a lot of their stories from us.
So we should ask.
We should definitely be asking if they're talking about specifically the Land and Food Systems, or maybe they're talking about a faculty member and we can direct them to their page. There is a lot of potential there. And that's an example of thinking creatively. So we get a lot of media coverage, but that doesn't necessarily translate into links, which are online votes for how great our site is. Good question. Any other queries for me?
What about, can I have another one?
Yes.
Presumably we all have our own mailing lists where we could put our own footers in the bottom of these, whatever we send out.
Yeah.
And sometimes people put URLs in that, which could drive traffic, which could be tracked. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Might as well. Yeah, might as well, because you are driving traffic. But that link isn't one that Google will see. So the link itself doesn't really do you any good unless people are posting their emails to their blogs, but who posts their emails to their blogs? So yes, that will drive traffic, and maybe when you're corresponding with media, they'll see your link, and they'll be more likely to put it in their online media story. So I can see benefit to that, and it won't hurt to try because a lot of this is free, and a lot of this is free experimentation. So that's also a good idea, although it won't directly give you links. Yes, Winnie?
But does traffic also increase your optimization? Like if I had a link in my emails that I send out and everyone clicks on that, even though it's not captured by Google, would that drive up the traffic and then also?
It will drive up your traffic, but it won't necessarily do anything for your search engine optimization, which is investment in future traffic. But it might. And since we are plugged into Google Analytics, Google can technically find out how much traffic we have. It's debated whether they actually check that. They probably are looking at how many people are clicking on you in the search engine rankings. So if you jump to the #1 slot on Google and nobody's clicking on you because you're a bad resource, but the search engine algorithm says you're a good resource, you're probably going to fall off the map. because you've jumped up to the #1 slot, but nobody cares. So they are probably going to look at that data and say, maybe this isn't such a good resource after all, and bump you down. So a lot of this is stuff we don't really know, because Google in many ways is a black box, which is why so much experimentation is necessary. And they're always changing. They just released a new algorithm, Google did, to make how they rank things completely different. So it's called Google Caffeine, and it kind of roughly coincided with Google Instant, which you might notice when you're typing in. It gives you search engines right away, or results right away. So what that does is it decreases the amount that your URL will help you. So having a URL like Lawyers Vancouver is not going to help you as much now, and it increases how important links from Twitter and Facebook are, which is why in my presentation I said increasingly more important is Facebook and Twitter. It's not just that they're big sites, it's that now Google places a bigger importance on those sites. So things are always changing. Matt Cutts is a Google employee who blogs about search engine optimization. So it's almost like that's the word of God. What he says, everybody pays attention to. Because whenever Google is making any changes in their algorithm, Matt Cutts is the one who's going to tell you about it. So it's worth following him if you want to be doing this. It's worth reading the books. You can even see my initial analysis of land and food systems I have on my site. If you want to see where we were then and my recommendations I was making then. Any questions?
We use URL or web address shorteners quite often,
Yes.
so that we can have just easier to remember or easier
Yes.
to follow. That doesn't, that won't affect the way that we're linked to at all. I mean, Google will, we're still getting the quality of those links.
Yes, and that is because, to get a little bit technical, they are using what's called a 301 redirect, which is, it's like 404 error. 301 is not an error. It just says, this page is permanently moved, direct all traffic to another page. So they're using a 301 redirect, which is search engine friendly. So any link to that bit.ly link will give you the benefit. So yeah, those URL shorteners are fine to use. And then they're easier to remember too. So yeah, URL shorteners are great. And then you can track how many people are clicking on it too. So yeah, they work fine. What's that?
You can tweet them too.
Yes, and you can tweet them, and Twitter, as I said, is important. Even though I don't like Twitter, and I don't like Facebook, I understand that they're more important now. So I know if I want to do this, then we should be having a Facebook profile, which we do, and we have several Twitters as well. YouTube also. Any of those social media things where content is constantly changing, constantly updating, we need to be engaging, even if we don't like them. Yes, buddy.
So even if only my friends can see what I post on my Facebook, that's captured by search engine or Google.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because you said you just mentioned Facebook.
Well, there are many links that are publicly available on Facebook, but if you've chosen to hide your wall, for example, versus if you choose not to hide your wall, that will have, because the search engine can't see it either. Anything that a person can't see, a search engine can't see. And yes.
One thing would be that if you have a group like the Land and Food Systems Students Group, that's public. Exactly. And on your personal wall, many of them are public too, which is why Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook guy, keeps trying to ruin your privacy. It's not because he's a tyrant. It's because he wants to be ranking for search engine for everybody in the world's name, which is, very profitable. That's why he wants to do that, is because he wants to make it available to search engines. Which is why when you hide it, yeah, you do destroy those links, but use a group or use a page for LFS, and then you can get that benefit there. And the more followers you have, the more links you're creating on all their pages when you post anything. And most of those pages will be public because that's the default. So great question. We're almost out of time, but yes, Morgan.
How quickly can we capitalize on the popularity of, say, a news item? For example, if we were to put up a response to something that happened in the news. Kevin Allen talks about bacteria on chicken or something like that. And I saw something like that recently. And then if we put up something, how can we...
Like a comment.
How can we tie into Well, it could be, when I say something, I'm being deliberately general, but that something is meant to include a piece of, a comment on somebody else's blog that links to our own, or our own content on our own website, a comment on the Vancouver Sun page, a video that says, oh, this is something else that this person's doing, or a related topic from LFS. Any of these things that we could responsibly produce in a kind of quick, just-in-time, agile way. How worthwhile are those in terms of capitalizing on trends that are in the news, and what would we need to do to make sure we get those links and maximize the popularity link?
The answer to that is it's definitely worthwhile to attempt to capitalize, as long as we're not doing it in a spammy way. We don't want to be that guy on the comment section that just says first, and then he has a link in his name to whatever it is. But some of the most important links I ever built were in comments of popular blogs. And the sooner you are to comment, the better. It doesn't make a huge difference how soon you do it. But for stuff that's timely, like news, do it as soon as possible. Sites like news sites are going to be indexed much quicker by Google than sites that are much slower to update, because they know that the Vancouver Sun has new articles every day, so they're going to be indexing the Vancouver Sun twice a day, 3 times a day. They're going to be indexing one of our lesser known research groups maybe once a month. So they actually have a tiered system in their index of what's more important. So if it's something very timely, get that link up there as soon as possible, because by the end of the day, Google will probably know about it. Same with videos. I capitalize on all our videos with links back to our faculty, but I have more control over the videos we put up. When it comes to commenting on YouTube comments, that's not as good because you can't really put a link in there. So it really depends on the site as well. Does that answer all of your questions? You had a couple in there.
It's in the right general direction.
Yeah.
Recognizing that responding to content with content is kind of the thing that I'm looking for affirmation on.
Yes. And part of what I did when I redesigned our homepage was make it something that's more interactive and more ever-changing, which makes it a better resource. So having a bunch of links on your site doesn't help you unless those links are part of you being a great resource. So when you link to all your news stories, that can help you. You're linking out of your site, but that can still help you if you're considered a good resource on, well, in our case, on ourself. We're a good resource on LFS. Before, I don't believe we were as good of a resource on LFS, the site, because we didn't have content that ever changed. It was always the same.
Can I rephrase in a really practical way?
Yes.
I'll use Kevin's example again.
Great. It's a good example.
Kevin Allen, bacteria on chicken.
Yes.
Or something like that seems to be the way that I would find the news item.
Yes.
A couple of days ago, I go looking for it. Somebody else out there in the world goes to look for bacteria on chicken.
Yes.
I want them to come to Land and Food Systems food microbiology site or something like that, food safety. So can I put up some content that has a similar keyword,
Absolutely.
bacteria on chicken? So how do I figure out what the most important keyword search is for the current news item that's getting big push from the Vancouver Sun or Marketplace or wherever?
For that keyword, you're probably just going to have to guess.
And put it into my site?
And put it into your site, because you don't have history. You don't have search history to find out what the amount of people actually searching for it are. So use practical words. If somebody else is going to be rearranging those words a little bit, they're probably still going to be finding you. So salmonella, Kevin Allen, use another word like contamination, chickens. Just use those words on your site, and you're probably going to rank for anything containing those approximate words. As far as putting up that content, if it's a Vancouver Sun piece, what do? Steal their video? Well, that would be nice if we could do that and post it on our site and be the #1 resource, but that's not exactly legal. So we can maybe embed their video on our page and provide more information, as long as we are becoming now the best resource on that, because we're doing it from our point of view, we're giving their point of view, and then maybe we have more links. As long as we're a better resource than Vancouver Sun on this Kevin Allen thing, then we are going to be popping up in the top of the search engine. But if Vancouver Sun has the article, and we're just talking about it and linking to them, then we're not really going to be getting much benefit from that. Anybody else? Questions? Okay, well, we're over time, but that's fine. It's just by a few minutes. Thank you for coming, everybody, to hear me ramble. Probably post this on Brown Bag. We have a Brown Bag companion blog. I'll probably post this this presentation on there just so that you have a way of looking at the resources and the more reading, so you don't have to write them all down. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.